The mantra for 2024, amidst predictions of a bear market or bull market, both will miss the mark this year. In 2024, success will hinge on stock selection, with most gains driven by a select few mega capitalized companies. If you find yourself in those companies or sectors, you're poised for a good year. Notable last year's significant gains were elusive for those who were not invested in the Magnificent Seven. If you follow our recommendations the last few weeks, investing in companies like Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, etc., you were greatly rewarded. It all boils down to 2024 in stock selection, and this week will be no different. Spoiler alert, the artificial intelligence sector, particularly in semiconductors, is poised to lead the way in the stock market this year. If you're invested in this sector or explore companies supporting it, you significant rewards could be in store for 2024. As you know, for the last year and 2 months, we have been touting artificial intelligence. We have been touting Nvidia. Nothing has changed. We are being consistent in our approach. Exciting news ahead. Nvidia is set to release its earnings on Wednesday. Our first initial strong bullish recommendation on Nvidia, featured in another video on this channel in our long-term portfolio, achieved a remarkable 303% gain in just over a year. In our short-term and intermediate-term portfolios, we are consistently purchasing Nvidia after each earnings report since January 18, 2023, adhering to a strategy that has proven successful for the past year and 2 months. I want you to focus on this, and this has been the same strategy and the same recommendation on all earnings reports. Imagine Nvidia disappoints and the stock goes lower. We still feel that before the earnings, it was a buy. And if it pulls back, it's also a buy also, because the next 7-8 months, we are overall in a bullish market for significant companies, mega cap artificial intelligence companies, and semiconductors. And if we are right that they will post damn good earnings, you can make money short term and in the intermediate term. Consistency is the key, and our approach for Nvidia remains unchanged. Our recommendation is to buy before earnings, and if earnings disappoint, consider buying on pullbacks. This strategy extends to the semiconductor industry. In the face of any pullback, consider buying other artificial intelligence companies. This proven approach has consistently yielded positive results regardless of the entry point. While this technique may not always work, our conviction is that in 2024, it will be a reliable method for profit, specifically in artificial intelligence, Nvidia, and the semiconductor sector. This video will delve deeper into the strategy of buying Nvidia, exploring the semiconductor industry, and providing insight into the overall market, ensuring you are well prepared for the results on Wednesday. This video is titled Same Plan for Nvidia. Disclaimer: the information provided is for educational and informational purposes only, not intended as a substitute for professional financial advice. Always conduct your own research and protect your capital. As you know, our system takes part in a 3-part process. But today, we're not going to start with the overall market. We're going to finish off this video with the overall market, and we're going to combine today the individual securities and also the sector phases at the beginning of this video. The reason why is because of Nvidia and our heavy concentration into semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and anything to do in the AI world. On Wednesday night, Nvidia will be announcing earnings. We have played Nvidia for close to over a year on each time of the earnings announcement. Each time our earnings announcements has been the same. Short term, we are bullish. Intermediate term, we are bullish. And long term, we are bullish. And let's just look at this chart over here and see how we have been rewarded each and every time since January 18th of 2023. Just even if you look back at the recent earnings announcements or our recent postings of Nvidia, every 3 weeks, we have told you to buy on any pullbacks, to buy on crossing points. If you go back to over here, and every time it sold off, what happened? It went higher. The pullbacks were so little, it gave you little chance to buy in before it moved up higher again. and to the recent explosion of 50% upwards since the beginning of the year. So nothing has changed. If we're having a consistent approach, nothing has changed. We have a long-term position open, we have built an intermediate term position open, and we will have a short-term position. If we are wrong with the earnings and there is a pullback, the pullback could last anywhere from 1 to 3 months, but we believe by the end of this year, Nvidia is higher than the closing price on Friday of $726. This system has worked very well for us. We definitely do not recommend shorting into this company. So what do we look for on our buying process? The first thing, are we in a bull market? Well, for Magnificent Seven as a whole, we are in a bull market. For artificial intelligence companies, we are in a bull market. For semiconductors, we are in a bull market. So to say we are not in a bull market, especially in the three areas that I have mentioned, it is obvious we are in an uptrend. It is obvious we are in a bull market. If a rocket ship goes up to the moon, you might time it once or twice that it comes down and breaks down, but we are not in full capitulation mood. We will probably not be in full capitulation move till the end of this year or maybe even next year of 2025 when you see the bear market and we are shorting into everything. Oversold indicators. Even though Nvidia has recently gone up, it has not moved anywhere and has some oversold indicators coming lower. We'll show that in a few minutes. We do not get into cheap traps. If Nvidia was at $10 and not hitting 52-week highs, that's not a good sign for us. We are looking for things that are trading above its moving averages, hitting highs, all-time highs, 52-week highs, monthly highs. These are the companies we're looking to get involved into. We are prioritizing uptrends. We are prioritizing uptrends, the strongest stocks in that strongest sector, which is doing well. We have a stop loss in play for the short term, intermediate, and long term. We maintain consistency. Obviously, this approach of buying artificial intelligence companies, Magnificent Seven, has been implemented for over a year and 2 months. Our approach has been consistent. I want also to look at the semiconductor industry. Even though we have invested a lot of companies in semiconductors, just recently on January 23rd, we have said we officially put it into our holdings, and you can clearly see that it is on an uptrend. It is trading above the moving averages and clearly looks bullish. Nvidia is in the semiconductor industry, and clearly other semiconductors are doing well. But Nvidia is the creme of the la creme. Nvidia is the superstar among superstars. Let's continue further. As there has been some breakdowns of the Magnificent Seven, like Tesla and maybe Apple soon, breaking down a little bit, still Meta, Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon looks well this year. Now, we told you about the overbought, oversold. This is our short-term indicator, which is at 21. If we get a sell-off a little bit more on Tuesday and into Wednesday, this number will come a little closer to 10. Usually on powerful bull moves, we never hit the zero. As you can see over here, we came down to about 20 and then it went back up. Because of such powerful moves, usually oversold indicators sell off a little quickly and never reach the extremes, because they do not want the regular person to get into it. Let's continue further. If you look at intermediate term and long term, the intermediate term is a little bit high for our taste. But again, with the same explanation, with a company that has such a strong uptrend, you're not going to get the intermediate term and long term at very extreme low levels. Maybe the short term can touch the zero level, but the other two, if this is going where I think it's going in the next 1 to 6 months, we will hover in at these levels. Our overbought, oversold indicator is at neutral. When we get to the overall market, you're going to see a lot of neutral readings, where again, it becomes a stock picker's market, and we are picking the stocks that have the greatest uptrends and not looking for value at this time. The CCI indicator has recently had a little downtrend, but again, usually in these strong moving stocks, we will not have extreme levels of minus 200. We might come down to the zero and pop up. So what is our recommendation for Nvidia before earnings. Let's make it clear. This is a disclaimer. This is what we're doing. Protect your capital, talk to financial advisors. We are short-term bullish. If Nvidia announces poor earnings or something the street doesn't like, it will have a pullback. For me, that's great. I will be building on my intermediate term position, especially when other of the oversold indicators become even lower. We've held on long term for over a year on Nvidia, and we will build further positions if any announcement doesn't meet the expectations. Thus saying that, I think the announcement will be good and Nvidia will go up higher on Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Thus saying that, even if I'm wrong, I will be right. We use this same scenario, even though I am wrong, I am going to be right on Meta, on Amazon, on Nvidia. And each in time that Nvidia was releasing earnings, I said the same thing, that even if I'm wrong, in 3 months, I will be right. This will not always work, but I believe this will work on Nvidia. We've told you at the beginning of the video, the mantra is artificial intelligence. The mantra is this market will be even more selective than it was last year. And nothing is more proof than very few stocks are moving upwards, and especially the gains have been happening through semiconductors. Thus saying that, if you look at the stage analysis for the overall market, it's 52% bullish and 48% bearish. NASDAQ 52% bullish, 48% bearish. That means you have a 50% chance of picking a winning stock this year. Thus saying that, very neutral. You're going to hear me say a lot of that today. Very neutral. Where I was not saying that for ARM, ARM. I was not saying that for AMD. I am not saying that for Meta. But for the overall market, it's been very neutral the last few weeks. And I believe it will also be very neutral, slightly to the positive for this year. But if you look at QQQs and Nvidia is up 50% for the year, you can see the QQQs are clearly on an uptrend. And the Magnificent Seven, at least 5 out of the Magnificent Seven, will have somewhat of a good gain. So for our overall market, we expect a pullback, and we want this pullback to happen, and we will be buying into this pullback. Let's go to the fear index, the VIX and the VXN. It's very neutral to where we are at. If you look at the 50-day moving average, we're hovering around here, 15 up, down to 14. If you look at the contract itself with the futures, even though the spike because of the CPI, which went up to 18, we're hovering from around 13 to, I'm going to say, 15, 16, thus lining up a great opportunity for Nvidia to surprise and us to go down to the 13.5. If you go to the short-term indicators, again, all neutral. So by saying the overall market is neutral, what does that mean? That means you have to be selective on what you pick in the stock market and to pick the best out of the best. If you look at the commodity channel index, the CCI, again, another neutral indicator. We believe it'll come somewhere close to 0, pop off, come up to 200, 0, 200. If you look at the overbought, oversold indicators, the numbers are all in the middle. Another neutral reading. If you look at our components, overbought, oversold, more neutral readings. If you look at Magnificent Seven, 5 out of the 7 look very much like an uptrend. Apple to me is ho-hum, and Tesla's in a declining phase. I wouldn't short into the Tesla this year. But again, the Magnificent Seven, 5 out of 7 look very positive. If you look at the double AI, it is clearly bearish, but this level can stay this way for 6 more months without a problem. You look at the put call options ratio, this can stay at this level for many months without even changing the sentiment of the overall market. The RIDEX ratio, neutral. The reason I usually start off with the overall market is because the overall market can really help us tell us which direction Nvidia is going in, because it's the overall market. But when many of the overall market seems like it's neutral, I look at times in the stock market like 1977, where it was definitely a period of time where you had to be a stock picker. I challenge you now to pick which stocks are you going to be in. In the next few days, we'll come out with some new companies that we're looking at. We'll also go back to some of the old companies that we are looking at. We are bullish, but you know our mantra. We are very selective. You know the catchphrase, study it, analyze it, adapt it. Peace.